So I wanted to tell you a little bit about the Hoka One One Rincon 2s that I purchased this past week. I actually purchased them last week, but I wore them on Tuesday and Thursday of this week at work all day, and wore them during the evening, and I actually wore them for about a 10-minute jog through the campus. And for some of you, you already know that I usually am a ASICS guy, and I also have a couple pairs of the Adidas Ultra Boost 21 along with the New Balance 1080. Um, my coworkers noticed right away after the this past week of wearing the Hoka shoes. They're like, "Hey, you got some new shoes, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, I wanted to try out the Hoka shoes that everybody been talking about." And so I went ahead and bought the two very popular brands, the Clifton 8s and the Rincon 2s. I tried them all on, all the different varieties that Hoka sells, and I came to the conclusion that I like these two the best, and they fit kind of the lifestyle and the things that I want to do with my shoes. Now, I also ordered online the Nike Zoom Max Invincible Flyknit shoe and the Skechers Glide Step Sports Wave with the Air Cool Memory Foam. And once those two shoes arrive, I'll go ahead and give a brief overview of how those shoes feel after a week of use. But why do I like the Hoka One One Rincon 2 shoes? Well, first of all, these are the lightest shoes out there for the Hoka brand. They are very, very light, lighter than the Clifton 8s by about 2 to 3. Um, you know, they're they're I forget exactly what the exact weight is, but they're quite a bit lighter. I'll give you the details down below once I go ahead and get them off the shoe brand. But they're very, very light. They're basically a skinnied up version of the Clifton shoes. Um, when Hoka first came out, their mainstay, their brand that variety that came out that was their mainstay was really the Cliftons, and they came out with the Rincons later on, and they're basically a skinnied up version of the Cliftons. They're lighter, and on top of being lighter, they just have a kind of a floating sensation. They're great for short runs. Um, they may not necessarily be good for a person who wants to run a marathon or half marathon, who are really putting in a lot of miles on a weekly basis running. Especially for long runs, I think the Cliftons are a better shoe to use for longer runs. But for everyday use, for being around the office where I'm at, where we have basically cement flooring, also, as I go from building to building, from campus to campus, and kind of making the trek around the buildings on our campus site here, I feel like having the lighter shoes really feels great. There are times where I'll wear the Clifton 8s during the morning and midday period, and then as my feet get tired or my knees start aching a little bit, then maybe I'll go ahead and transition to the lighter Rincon shoes. For some of you who don't know, I do have a little bit of soreness in my right knee. Of course, I tore my ACL on the left knee, but for whatever reason, my right knee is the one that kind of flares up a little bit. And by the end of the day, sometimes I'm in bed sleeping and it aches a little bit. I've kind of solved that problem by kind of wrapping my knee slightly. And I don't know if you guys have done the same thing. I've have supports, knee supports, and other things, but I don't like them as much because they're really tight. And even if I get the looser ones, they feel a little bit more constricting. I like to take the bandage wrap and I get the widest size possible, and I wrap it. Wrap my knee every day in the morning, and I don't wrap it very tight. It's kind of a basically a loose wrap, and it just keeps the kind of the moisture and the heat inside my knee, which makes it nice and loose. And I'll tell you, by just loosely wrapping my right knee first thing in the morning and wearing it all day, I actually have I really have no pain or ache in my right knee anymore. Of course, I'm wearing good shoes, but even on days where I'm doing a lot of walking, light, briskly walking from building to building for work, getting in some short 10, 20, 30-minute runs, I noticed by having my knee kind of wrapped a little bit and keeping the heat in, it actually feels great. And I can tell already I do like the Rincons 2 quite a bit. I've been the type of person that likes a very, very lightweight shoe. And with the Hoka One Rincon 2s, they're a little bit lighter than the Clifton 8s. They're the skinnied up version, so there's not as much, a midsole support or back heel support like the Cliftons and some of these other running shoes. But if you're going on runs that aren't very long and you want some light shoes and then you want to be able to use the shoes for everyday use, I'm a big fan of the Rincon 2 shoes. And especially in the loft area that I work in, where we have cement flooring and it stretches quite a ways, having a lightweight shoe wearing around that around the office is great. And then I also have a condo that has basically industrialized kind of cement flooring, and so there's not a lot of support there because there's no carpet or any, it's not wood floors with a little bit of cushioning, and so having some good proper shoes is really great. And so I can see me wearing these Hoka One Rincon 2 shoes on a daily basis around my condo, around the loft for work. As some of you already know, back in high school, I wrestled, and then through high school and college, I worked in restaurants all the time. So I gave my knees kind of quite a bit of work and pounding, and and then of course I tore my ACL, my left knee, back snowboarding, back in my snowboarding days, and so with a little bit of lower back problems, a little bit of knee problems, past history with bad knees from wrestling and doing restaurant work, taking care of my knees and taking care of my legs and back and having good walking and running shoes is really, really critical. And so I'm a big fan of these Hoka One shoes. I bought both the Clifton 8s and the Rincons too. I like them both very, very much. I think I'm going to start using both of them on a regular basis. I think I might do something a little different, which is maybe wear the Clifton 8s during the morning and midday, and then maybe transition to the Rincon 2s in the afternoon and the evenings, because usually I can get in at about a 10, 20, 30-minute light jog around the campus walkway in the afternoon. It gives me a good little break from the office, and having the lighter shoe on the Rincon feels great. I'm not running a marathon. I'm not really pounding the pavement as much, and so I think wearing the Cliftons during the morning and the midday, and then switching over to the Rincons in the afternoon and the evening will be great. And then on the weekends, I probably will wear the Rincon 2s more in my condo. I have a pretty long condo, and very, very spacious, about 2,300 square feet. And from going from one end to another on that kind of industrialized cement um, loft feel, there's going to be a little bit of pounding on my legs since I won't have carpet or hardwood floors on there. And so I think the Rincons will be great for weekend use. And so that's a little bit about the Hoka One Rincons 2. Once my Nike Zoom Max Invincible Fly Knit shoes come in, along with my Skechers Glide Step Sports Wave shoes comes in, I'll give you a review of those. I still have my Adidas Ultra Boost 21 and my New Balance 1080. I still like using those for runs with friends. And then I still have my Asics because I used to be, all exclusively Asics guy. And Asics shoes are great. I like their shoes, but I think in terms of performance running and performance everyday use, mixed use, I think the Hoka One shoe brands are really, really good for that. And so they're just a step above, I think, the Asics lines these days. There are a couple isolated Asics shoes that are for performance running that are good. But in terms of everyday use, I think I'm going to switch over the Hoka One shoes. So that's a little bit about my shoes, and I'll be in touch with some other additional shoe reviews once those other two shoes arrive.